Back again with Kelly from Touchwood Flooring. In Edmonton, they are the hardwood flooring specialist. And today we're going to be talking about the costs that are associated with getting a brand new hardwood floor. So Kelly, let's dig into this. Let's learn from the master. Yeah. What is the case with getting a new hardwood floor? What's the process and what are the costs associated with it?
Kind of excited to talk about this one. Lots of times people will come into the store and they say, "Hey, Kelly, what does it cost me to buy some hardwood floors and to install them?" And then, you give them a couple numbers and they think, "Oh, that's great." But that's not all. At the end of the day, there are some costs involved with completely switching out your floors and getting new ones. So obviously the biggest cost is generally going to be supply of new materials. Depending on what you're looking for, a material can range. If you're looking for, a more cost-effective hardwood, you're probably looking in the $5 range, all the way up to, we have some products that are $50 a square foot. So that's, for the most part, going to be the biggest cost. Then there's the installation, of course, which, depending on your square footage, can also be quite a large cost as well, but remains consistent. Doesn't really matter if we're installing, 1,000 square feet or 50 or 100 square feet. It's going to be the same price per square foot. The only thing where it's going to change is the material we're using. Vinyl's one price, hardwood's another. And then another cost that I want to make sure every client that I deal with knows is the prep cost. Not everyone likes to explain that very clearly to people. And it can be a big cost. It can sneak up on people if they're not expecting it. So especially if we're doing a vinyl floor or a glue down hardwood or a glue together hardwood floor on top of a concrete substrate, we need to make sure that subfloor is perfectly flat. And I say flat, not level, because it doesn't need to be level from side to side, but it needs to be flat. So yeah, that can be a huge expense depending on where that level is or how flat that is. So depending on that, there'll be however many bags of leveling we need, the labor involved. Do we have to do some concrete grinding beforehand?
Okay. Now, when it comes to, people being prepared for this installation, all right. If this thing is home, obviously they've got other things that have to get rid of. What's the process? How do we go about this? And how does the homeowner prepare for getting a new hardwood install?
Yeah. So similar with refinishing, ideally, let's get your furniture out of there. That's the best case scenario for us. Then we'll come in, we'll start removing some baseboards so that we can get to the floor underneath. And then we'll just start hacking away more or less. If it's hardwood, we're going to cut it up into chunks so that we can pull it out easier. If it's tile, well, we're just smashing and using pry bars to get that stuff out. Carpet's very easy. Cut it up, pull it out in rolls and dispose of it. Once that's done, you need to make sure that the subfloor is in good condition, whether it's plywood subfloor, OSB subfloor, concrete subfloor. So we'll most likely sand down seams, make sure everything's flat. That's the key to everything. Make sure it's flat. Do some patching wherever needed, leveling wherever needed. If we see some areas, if it's a plywood subfloor and we see areas that there's maybe mold or soft spots from water, we'll get rid of that and put in some new plywood. Once that's all done, the new floor is ready to be received and we'll we'll go ahead with that. Whatever installation method we're using, whether it's a nail down on a subfloor or a glue down or a glue together. And then, of course, the vinyls and laminates, which would be more or less a click and lock installation method.
Okay. Now, is there something that you have to put like a different layer between the subfloor and the actual floor, whether it's got to move or shift? Like, is there some kind of material you put there?
In some cases, if you're doing a laminate or a hardwood glue together, you're going to need some kind of underlayment. And there's multiple kinds of underlayments. You can do the foam rollout stuff, and there's different levels of it depending on if you're living in a condo and they have certain sound ratings that they need you to meet. But we can also use cork. Cork's a really good one. And a lot of people kind of shy away from it because it is a little bit more expensive. But the utility of cork as an underlayment is really useful, and it's amazing because it helps. It's a really good sound quality. So you're not going to get a lot of through sound from one level to another. It's also a lot warmer than a lot of other underlays because it retains heat, but it's also really comfortable to walk on.
Right.
So there are multiple different kinds of underlays that we would use, but it depends on the installation method. If we're doing a nail down or a glue down, like directly gluing to a substrate, you don't use none.
Yeah. Okay. Now, when it comes to timeline, let's talk about timeline. What are we looking at? And I guess on top of that, besides timeline, do you work from the top down, bottom up? Well, what is your thing if you're going to do a whole house?
Yeah. Okay. So timeline would be depending on what kind of material you're ordering. There's some vinyls that we can get the next day. Sometimes it's 2 weeks out. For hardwoods, we're generally looking at about 4 weeks to our European line. Hackwood is going to be, 8 to 12 weeks. As for working, we'll continue on timeline, I guess. Once the material is delivered, depending on the size of the house and the amount of demo involved, we're generally, most jobs, even, the bigger jobs, we're able to kind of get done in a week. We'll assess how big the job is, and that kind of determines the amount of manpower we're going to have on that site. Most jobs we're trying to get done within 5 to 7 days. Sometimes the scope's just too large and it does take us a little bit longer. As for top to bottom, ideally, if the job's big enough and it can handle a big workforce, we'll take care of both at the same time. But if that's not reasonable for the homeowner, right? If it's not a new build where we can do that, we'll work top and then go down.
Now, Kelly, we've talked in other videos about prep work and the importance that it has when you're installing a new product. But maybe you can just go over those points again so that everybody understands why prep is so important.
Great question, Trevor. So the reason prep is so important is because you're spending a lot of money on your floor, right? Whether you're buying a vinyl plank, a laminate, a hardwood tile for that matter, whatever you're paying for, that's a big investment into your home. And if you don't have the proper preparation done underneath it, that floor is going to fail. So all that money you spent on buying this beautiful product to change the look of your house, to live in, to be comfortable on top of, it's for nothing, right? So that's why I stress out, and any good quality company out there is going to stress, let's make sure the preparation is done properly.
Yeah, no, that brings up a question that I had about the type of subfloor that somebody should have, right? And do you have people who want to cheap out on the subfloor because of, cost reasons? And what do you say to them?
That's more of a builder thing, based on, if it's a production home, a custom home, or a condo, right? Most of the times what we're seeing, we do tend to work in more custom builds. So we're going to see the standard spruce or birch plywood, which is obviously of a really good quality. And that's what we like to work with. It's a lot more hardy, holds nails a lot better. And your glue adheres a lot better to it. In some of the more production builds, tighter budget builds, they're going to use an OSB or a flake board. It's, it does its job. We don't like to work with it as much as the other ones, but it serves its purpose.
Now, when it comes to a house like that, let's say they're already living in it and they have carpet, they want to switch to hardwood. Do you put down a layer of ply, like 3/4 inch ply, in order to take care of that?
We can. We definitely can. It's often recommended, especially if we need to build up so that the new floor that they're putting in is level with everything else. And if there's some damage underneath, a really good way of making sure floors are flat is on a plywood floor. That is if it's OSB and there's some humps or dips or whatever the case may be, we'll put some planny patch down. And then we'll do the layer of plywood, of a spruce or a birch plywood on top of that. And it's a really nice finish. That way, all of our nails are going to hold. If we're doing a glue down, the glue's going to adhere really well. So yeah, it's definitely an option.
All right. That sounds great. Now, is there anything that I've missed, anything we haven't talked about regarding getting a new hardwood floor installed?
Yeah, just when looking for a product, I know price is often what's on people's mind, but you got to also think about the future. You can't just pick a product because it's the lowest cost. Because sometimes when you go with the lowest cost product, it ends up costing you more in the long run because it fails. The products we carry, we work with the supplier specifically because we know we can stand behind those products, whether it is a vinyl, a laminate, or a hardwood, and they're going to last a long time. We may not be the lowest priced store in the city. Actually, we probably aren't, but we make sure that we stand behind our installation. That's key. And the product that we supply. So come take a look at the showroom and see if we have something that will, spruce up the home and make it inviting and warm for you and your family.
All right, let's dig into that guarantee a little bit. So your workmanship warranty, what is that?
Okay, that's a great question. Most companies are going to do a 1-year warranty on their installations. We offer 5. I think it's important that we stand by our guys. We have the best installers in the city. We really do. I know everyone's going to say that, but I really trust these guys on every site they're on. So yeah, 5-year warranty for that.
Amazing. All right. Thank you so much, Kelly. Okay, guys, if you need a new hardwood floor and you're in the Edmonton region, so that can be Edmonton, Sherwood Park, anywhere in between, contact Kelly at Touchwood Flooring, and he'll be happy to come out and give you guys a quote and show you the array of beautiful products that they sell at Touchwood Flooring. See you guys on the next video.